Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 41 of the Karen Knits podcast. My name is Karen, and I'm coming to you from South Central Pennsylvania, where I live, where I work, where I knit, and where I get into all kinds of other crafty shenanigans. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. If you're a new viewer, welcome. I hope you enjoy. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back again for another week to see what I've been up to. Today is Saturday, November 21st. Yeah, life is becoming a blur. Yeah, it's Saturday, November 21st today, and we're heading into, in the United States, we're heading into the Thanksgiving season. It's going to be very different this year because a lot of people it's recommended people don't do any traveling. For my husband and I, it's not going to be much of a change because the majority of our family is in Canada. And for us, Thanksgiving is just a day that we spend just between the two of us. So it really won't be a huge difference for what we're doing. But it will be a lot different for a lot of people. And I will talk a little bit more later on today about what I'm doing, some other things that I'm doing during the Thanksgiving break or the break that I have from work during Thanksgiving. So what else was I going to tell you? Any other administrative stuff? No, I don't think so. We have a nice autumn day here. It's really dark and overcast outside. The light seems okay in here, but it really is quite dark and overcast outside. And it's getting a little bit later in the afternoon here. It's already nearly 3:30 in the afternoon on Saturday. I'm drinking Diet Coke today. I didn't feel for tea, or didn't feel for more tea. Let's put it that way. I've already had 2 cups this morning, and I think this is my second Diet Coke. I'm probably adequately caffeinated. And I had a fantastic night's sleep last night, so that's good. So today I want to talk about some of my works in progress. As you've seen in other episodes, I have 3 projects that I have on the go. So I'm down to a grand total of three WIPs. And I'm actually finding that that's a good number for me, or less. I might even find once I finish one of them, which I'm hoping by the time you watch this video next week or you watch my podcast next week, I should have one of these 100% done. The knitting, ends woven in, blocking, all of that good stuff, 100% done. Maybe 2. No, don't push it, Karen. Anyway, so if you've been following my channel, you've probably noticed that I've started doing a daily vlog kind of thing where I'm doing something that I call my WIP-it Down week, Thanksgiving 2020 edition. And typically what I do, and I think I talked about this a little bit last episode as well, what I like to do every year during the Thanksgiving break is, since the university where I'm working at, we close up the university, or the teaching is, there's no classes throughout the entire of the Thanksgiving week. So this week coming up, I have no teaching obligations. I have one little teeny bit of grading to do, which I think I'm going to do that later this afternoon or this evening just so that it's done. But what I typically do during my Thanksgiving break, since I have a little over a week off, actually my classes that I teach are on Monday and Wednesdays. And when my last class is done on a Wednesday afternoon before the Thanksgiving break starts, I'm on Christmas break, or Thanksgiving break. Rephrase that, Thanksgiving break. So I actually have 11 days off, starting my Thursday and Friday, the 2 weekends, and all next week off. So what I like to do during that Thanksgiving break is I set aside time every day to focus on every single one of my WIPs. And typically what I do is, so right now I have three works in progress. So on Thursday, I pulled out one of my WIPs and I only worked on that. One of the ones I haven't worked on lately. I worked on only that for all my spare time during the day. And then because I was on a good roll with that, on Friday, I also spent a goodly amount, all my spare time on Friday, working on that same WIP. And since it's getting very close to finished, I've also done a little bit on it earlier today, and I do plan on continuing to work on that the rest of today until it's done. And then hopefully I'll be able to get the blocking done today. If not today, then I'll get it blocked tomorrow afternoon once we're home from church. But then if I finish the knitting on this project, the first WIP today, then I will switch to my second one. And I will spend the rest of today on that. So then I'll be down to 2 WIPs. And what I'll do is I will alternate one day. Suppose once we're done with the weekend, so on Monday I'll work on one WIP all day. Tuesday I'll work on the second one. Thursday I'll work, not Wednesday. Wednesday I'll work on the first one again. Then Thursday I'll work on the second one. Or I'll do a certain number of days on each one. So by doing it this way, I kind of force myself to spend time on all of my WIPs. This has worked really well in the past when I've had multiple WIPs. Right now it's not as daunting because I only have 3. And as I mentioned already, I'm starting to find that a small number of WIPs is my preferred way of working on projects. As time is moving along, I'm finding that I'm becoming more and more of a monogamous knitter. And I like it. It works for me. It's what I find enjoyable. So what I'm planning on doing as we move into the future is I'm hoping that after I'm finished with my WIP-it Down week, I'm hoping that going forward, I will finish the last 2 WIPs I have. I'll get them done in 2020. They'll be 100% finished. And then moving into 2021, I think I might only work on 1 or 2 WIPs at a time, or only have 1 or 2 projects on the go at any given time. Because I do find that, as you've seen over the last month, 6 weeks in my podcast, is that I do tend to be a fairly monogamous knitter. And I really do tend to spend a lot of time working on mostly one project at any given time. As you've seen in the last month to 6 weeks, almost all of my knitting time has been focused on slipstravaganza, and it's still not done. It's getting closer, but it's still not done. But my other projects, like my scrap wrap has just been put aside, and I haven't touched it since, I think it's been sometime in the end of September since I last touched it. I have not worked on it in quite some time. And that tends to be how I do my projects. I get something new and shiny and I work on that only, and I neglect the other ones. It's not that I don't enjoy them anymore, it's just that new and shiny. So moving forward, I think I am going to try to stick to fewer WIPs. We'll see if stay tuned and we'll see if that's actually how life goes. But anyways, so long way of getting to showing you my WIPs that I've been working on. So this week, up until Wednesday, so since we last met on last Saturday, the first part of the week I worked only on slipstravaganza. I never touched my scrap wrap. I still haven't touched it. I'm gonna get back to that probably later today or tomorrow. But I worked the first part of the week, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday also, yeah, most of Wednesday I only worked on Slipstravaganza. So that's a project it was a mystery shawl project by Stephen West, and it started up in the beginning of October, or I think the 9th of October. We got the first clue, and then each Friday we got another clue for the shawl. And I'm currently working on clue number 4 still. That came out in the end of October, and I'm still working on clue number 4. And I did a fair bit this past week, and I still have quite a ways to go. As I mentioned last week, the rows are over 900 stitches now. It's going to be a nice big shawl when it's done. But the rows are over 900 stitches. By the time we get to the end, it'll be up to 950 stitches. So it's huge. I think I'm at 920, 924 stitches now. But I'll show you what I've done in the past week since we last looked at this. So I'm using 3¼ millimeter needles, or US size. Did I write that down? Yeah, US size 3. So that's what this is at. And I'm going to put a spoiler alert on here. I don't think I would really need it anymore. But the pattern, the pictures are out now, so I will put a spoiler alert in case you are still working on this and you want it to remain a surprise. So without further ado, here's where I am with my Slipstravaganza shawl. So I'm loving the colors. I'm using Whole Super Soft in the colors Pineapple, which is the cream color. I'm using Sugar Snap, Geranium, and Carmine are the 3 light, medium, and dark shades of pink. And clue number 4 is the chevron portion. There's so many stitches on here, it's hard to show it now because there's just so many stitches on the needles. And I find that each row takes me over an hour to knit. So it's going to take me a little while left to finish. So last week when I showed you, I had done the white portion just after the triangle, and I had done part of the lightest pink here. So I finished that. I did another 2 rows of the white. Then I've done the second color, the second pink, and I've done the white. Now I'm ready to do another several rows of the dark pink, then white, and then you repeat the 3 light, medium, and dark pink for another group of chevrons on here. The instructions are set so that you can do a small border, which would be the light, medium, and dark chevron, or a large, which is light, medium, dark twice. So I have not 100% decided if I'm going to do the small or the large. I'm leaning towards doing the large just because I like a nice big shawl. But I'm also leaning towards doing the small because it'll be finished sooner. And I still have 6, 12, 18, 22. I still have 25 or 28. Yeah, I've still got probably about 24 to 28 rows left to do, plus an I-cord bind off if I go to the large border. Stay tuned. We'll decide. We'll decide soon, and we'll have a better idea of where I'm at the end of this week. Once when I podcast next Sunday or next Saturday, we'll have a better idea of how far I've managed to get on this, on my days that my WIP-it Down days that I'll be devoting to Slipstravaganza. So my other work in progress that I have spent the bulk of my spare time on Thursday, Friday, and some this morning as well. I haven't done much this morning. I slept in and I've been lazy this morning. So I haven't done as much knitting as maybe I could have today, but that doesn't matter. So I pulled out Tegna. It's been a while since I've worked on this. I have not touched it since the end of late September, when, if you remember, I ran out of yarn for the working on the body of the sweater. I ran out of yarn for finishing the sweater. I was able to get one more 50-gram skein of yarn. Somebody on Ravelry was kind enough to sell it to me. And so then I had enough to do the 2 sleeves. So on Thursday morning, I got started. I had 2 little balls of yarn left from the original yarn that I was using on the body of the sweater. So that was in 2 roughly 5-gram balls of yarn. And then I took the new skein of yarn, did it up into a cake, and when I started the first sleeve, I did 1 round in the old yarn, 1 in the new, 1 old, 1 new. So the first, I think it's 20 or 25 rows gave me enough that I was able to alternate the 2 skeins for the first, I think it was 24 or 25 rounds. And when I look at it, I'm very hard pressed to see if there's any dye lot difference between them. I really don't see a difference between them, but I did want to make sure that I staggered and alternated the 2 skeins so that in case there was a little bit of a difference, that it wouldn't be as noticeable. And then once I ran out of the little guy, I just continued on the sleeve with the with the new yarn. So what I did, or what I've managed to do since I started working on this on Thursday morning, is 1 sleeve is done. 1 sleeve is completely finished, and the second sleeve is getting closer to halfway. It's getting close to, if we're to put them together, it's about 1/3 to halfway done. So I've made wonderful progress on it. And I think if I just buckle down and keep working on the second sleeve for the rest of today, it will be finished before I go to bed tonight. That's my plan. And then on Sunday, after we get home from church, I think what I'll do is I'll pop it into a tub of warm or lukewarm water with a little couple drops of soap in it. I'll give it a good soak and then block it out, because the body doesn't really need a pile of blocking, but the hem does. I really want to get the lace opened up nicely. And without blocking, it's not as pretty as it could be. And for the amount of time I put into it, I want the hem to be as pretty as everything else is. So on Thursday, my first WIP-it Down day, I almost finished the first sleeve. I worked on the sleeve. I got to the point where this light pink marker is, and then on Friday morning I came back to it and I think there was 3 more rounds on the sleeve plus this thin little cuff. The cuff called for you to go down a needle size. I did not, because I wanted to keep it a little bit loose for my dainty arms, these big guns. So I wanted to keep that a little bit looser. So I'm hoping once it blocks, it's kind of folding on itself a little bit. Worst case scenario, I'm just going to let it fold over. I'm not going to be too fussy about it. So first day on WIP-it Down, or first day of my WIP-it Down week, I did this. Second day, I did this little bit plus up until the little red marker. And then this morning I've added 3 or 4 rows. So today I'm hoping to, as I said, hoping to get that last, I think I've got between 35 and 40 rounds to go, and the sleeve will be done. So I'm excited to get this done. I've tried it on. I love the way it fits. I love the color, and I really enjoy it. A funny story about the sleeves. If you remember back to when I was originally working on this project, I had chose a size to knit that would fit the body properly and without it being too big. I did make it a little bit longer because the pattern as written is it's a cropped sweater. Nobody needs to see my body in a cropped sweater. For me, it's not my preferred. I want to cover my belly. So, plain and simple. I'm not letting my belly flap out in the wind. So I like to have my sweaters a little bit longer. So I added length to it. I just made the body longer. I also modified it a little bit when I came through the front and back on the front and back for the armhole. And I wanted to make the armhole bigger than what was called for on the size that I knit, because again, dainty arms. I wanted to make sure that it would fit. So I was reading through the pattern on Wednesday night before I went to bed. And then I got all set and ready to cast on, or to pick up the stitches around the sleeve, around the armhole, and get started. And I think I didn't notice until actually on Friday that my size, I think the pattern called for picking up 86 stitches. What I planned on doing was picking up 96 stitches and doing the sleeves one size larger than the body. So I was planning on doing it 10 stitches bigger. For some reason, when I picked up the stitches, I decided to pick up 90. I have no idea why I decided 90 was the right number. I probably should have looked at the pattern before I did it. I'm thinking that those extra 6 stitches would have made it just a teeny bit better fit in the arm, but there was no way I was going to undo that many stitches and that many rows to add 6 stitches. I'm like, no. It fits fine. I would have liked it just a tiny bit looser on the sleeve. That's fine. It's not too tight. The extra 6 stitches would have made it just a teensy bit looser on the sleeve, but with 90 stitches, it fits okay. And after blocking, it'll be fine. I'm not worried about it. But I have no idea why I decided that 90 stitches was the number to pick up. At least I made sure I did the same thing on both sleeves. So we have that. So my WIP-it Down week is going fantastically. I got Tegna back out, and it'll be done. I'm really hoping that the knitting will be done, 100% done today. And then it just needs to be blocked. So next week, hold me to this, but next week you should see me wearing Tegna while I podcast next week. That should be a guarantee unless I forget to wear it, but I won't forget to wear it. So Tegna will be done in the next day or two, blocking included. The only ends I have left to weave in are the last, my bind off end, and there's two ends in the armpit from the little ball and the second skein. So it's I'll have three ends, and I cannot see. I don't know if you can see a difference in the dye lots. I can't. But for the first several, like I say, I think it was 24 rows, was the old yarn and the new yarn. If there is any variation, it's so faint that it will not, I can't notice it. I cannot really notice a difference, so it's clearly not going to bother me. If it bothers someone else, not my problem. It's my sweater. So the Tegna will be done for you guys to see next week. And then I will be down to 2. And I'm hoping once I'm done with Tegna, if I finish it early enough tonight, I will pick up my scrap wrap later on today, and I will start. I've got a dozen or more ends that need to be woven in on my scrap wrap, and then it's time to start adding more squares, or more of the little mitered squares. So I will be alternating my days between working on my scrap wrap and on my slipstravaganza shawl. And hopefully by next week, I'm hoping by the end of my WIP-it Down week, one or the other of those two will be done. If they're not done, I hope to continue plugging along with them, and they will. I'm really hoping and planning to having those two 100% done before 2020 is done. So we shall see, but we'll see how much I get done on those two projects when I join you next week. If you're interested, you can feel free to follow my WIP-it Down week posts that I've been putting up so far, 2 of them so far this week, and I plan on doing that pretty much every day for the next while. They're in a separate playlist that is labeled. I think the playlist is labeled WIP-it Down Week Thanksgiving 2020 edition, I think is what I called the playlist. So all of the WIP-it Down videos or little vlogs will be in there. So I plan on, when I do the blocking on Tegna, I plan on filming a little bit of that and putting that in there. So if you're interested in seeing that in a little bit more detail on what I'm doing with those projects, feel free to watch those videos. If you don't have the time, they've been 15, 18 minutes, the first 2. I'm hoping to trim them down to a little bit shorter videos coming up and have them under 10 minutes, but they are what they are. And there was a parade in town a small parade in town earlier today. I've just seen 3 fire engines heading down that way, 4, from different detachments that have their fire engines that came in and were part of the parade. Anyway, so there was a tangent. So come back next week and see Tegna all done, and see how much I've got done on slipstravaganza and on my scrap wrap. And we'll see how much work we got done on those in the next 6-7 days. Alrighty, if you haven't yet, I would love it if you would like this video, subscribe to my channel. It really makes my day when I see I have new subscribers. Yeah, it really makes my day when I see that I get new subscribers to this itty bitty teeny channel in this huge market with all the different knitting podcasts. There's no shortage of knitting podcasts. So if you're watching mine, I truly appreciate that you're making a little bit of time to see what I have to say about my knitting projects. So anyway, enough yakking. I will let you go. Take care. If you're in the US, have as nice a Thanksgiving as you possibly can. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you guys again next week. Bye now.